All right, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have two requests. Alex, could you shut the front door? Kind of loud out there. How are we doing? Good? Okay. How's the weekend been for everyone? Good? Okay. That is encouraging to hear. My name is Lauren Garcia. I'm the executive director here at North Star Church of the Arts. I do a thing every event where I ask how many people in the space have been here before. Raise your hand if you've been here before. Amazing. Can you raise your hand if you haven't been here before? Amazing. It's wonderful to see so many new faces. Give it up for new friends and old friends. So for those of you who have not been to North Star before, today is our monthly Sunday service. We do expressive arts therapy. This year we're talking about artists who led resistance, and we're talking about the historical context that surrounded them. So we've talked about Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, we've talked about Emory Douglas and the Black Panther Party last month, and we've also incorporated artists in Durham who do work along the lines of resistance. And so we're really excited to welcome you in today. Our entire weekend has been dedicated to a festival that reclaims what the 4th of July means, reclaims what freedom is, because if you're not familiar, we last year won our first federal grant, and 8 months later, got it taken away. So it was a huge honor and a huge investment that was born out of the Biden administration's executive order that acknowledged the historic disinvestment in communities of color, poor and working class communities, rural communities. And just like executive orders, they're very easily overturned. And so another executive order rescinded it. And so we've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to have funding and resources that are more sustainable, to learn from the traditions of people who have done political organizing in the past, who have organized around art and culture. How do people fund movements? Someone said to me yesterday, the Harlem Renaissance didn't have the federal government. And movement work happens and artistic work happens all the time outside of traditional institutional structures. And I think we've really been exploring what that means here at North Star. And so we started a fundraising campaign of our own, because even though we no longer align with federal priorities, we know what our priorities are for our community, and we're standing by them. So, oh my God, wait. Sorry, the number has gone up since I looked. We are almost at our fundraising goal. I might cry. And there will be a huge time for thank yous later, but I just want to express gratitude because it's been an incredible response since we launched this campaign at the end of May. North Star has not done a formal fundraising campaign before in our little nonprofit history, and the response has been so overwhelmingly amazing. So thank you for being here this morning. Today, we are here to talk about Miriam Makeba, a singer, a musician. She's described a lot of the time as an activist, but I don't know if she'd describe herself that way. So we're gonna start out, let's give you a lay of the land. We're gonna start out with a video about Miriam from the 80s, and then we're gonna listen to some of her music. We're gonna talk a little bit about what home means when home rejects you. Miriam was exiled from South Africa and then made a home in the US and then had her visa revoked for organizing she did here. And what it means to hold home with complexity. Sometimes home isn't safe. Sometimes you find home in places that are not your traditional, like where you grew up. We called this weekend a home for the brave because that's what we feel like North Star was. I say this a lot too if you've been here before, but this building was built in 1930 as a church for a deaf congregation. They actually started meeting at St. Philip's Episcopal down the street, and the congregation grew because of the factory work that was happening in Durham. It was believed then, a very ableist belief, that because people were deaf, their ears wouldn't be damaged by manufacturing noise. And so this building was paved with the intention of a refuge for people who were pushed out to the margins and who were exploited and extracted from. And I think that nearly 100 years later, we're kind of in the same position where we're a home for people who are pushed to the margins. We support queer artists, working class artists, and artists of color through multidisciplinary art programs. We have visual art, we have music, we do theater programs for youth and for the elderly. And I'm just really excited to talk about home today. We're also going to do a little drumming. How do we feel about that? So you'll see on the stage we have a bucket of percussion instruments. We have big drums. We hope that you'll share the bigger drums, maybe like 2 people to a small drum or like 4 to a big drum, but we'll figure that out when we get there. And I'm also gonna ask you to think about what home is. There's some markers in the back that you can use. But yeah, for now, let's play that first MP4 video on Miriam. It's okay. It's been a long weekend. Hey, Miss Mary, how you doing? Good. Also, there's food and drinks if you want. You can get up at any time. There's bathrooms through the arches and water behind the door, or maybe on the other side of the door.
They call her Mama Africa, the empress of South African song. One of the most powerful voices ever to be heard out of South Africa's Black townships. In the beginning, back in the early 50s, they called her the Nut Brown Baby. A young unknown from Mafulo village, singing mostly for free. But within a decade, the voice of Miriam Makeba would be heard around the world. Not only as Africa's first international singing success, but increasingly as one of the most prominent critics of her country's rigid segregation laws known as apartheid. In 1960, Makeba's mother died. When she attempted to return home for the funeral, the South African government stamped her passport invalid. For the next 28 years, Makeba would be a unique exile, outlawed at home, but welcomed everywhere else, especially by African leaders like Kenyan President Jomo Kenyatta, Mozambique's Samora Machel. Many sent for her to sing as their countries gained the independence still denied the black majority in South Africa. Guinean President Sekou Touré thrust her onto the world's political stage as an adopted Guinean and delegate to the United Nations. In apparent retaliation for her anti-apartheid speeches at the UN, South Africa banned her records. Still, Makeba enjoyed unprecedented success around the world until 1968, when she married her 4th husband, American student leader and Black Power activist Stokely Carmichael. In her new autobiography, Makeba, My Story, Makeba recalls getting the news from her manager. My concerts are being canceled left and right. I learned that people are afraid that my shows will finance radical activities. It is frightening. This wonderful dream come true. The little African girl who becomes a big star in America. It's all over. And so it was, a new kind of exile. For 19 years, Makeba made her home in Guinea and was not to be seen on stage again in America until 1987, when she returned with Paul Simon's Graceland tour.
Joseph's face was black as night. The pale yellow moon shone in his eyes.
Thanks to the tour, Makeba, now 56, has just released her first U.S. album in 19 years, Sangoma, a collection of traditional South African songs. I spoke with Miriam Makeba recently about her life as South Africa's most famous exile. She began her answer with an excerpt from her new book.
I look at an ant and I see myself, a native South African, endowed by nature with a strength much greater than my size, so I might cope with the weight of a racism that crushes my spirit. I look at a bird and I see myself, a native South African, soaring above the injustices of apartheid on wings of pride, the pride of a beautiful people. I look at a stream and I see myself, a native South African, flowing irresistibly over the obstacles until they become smooth and one day disappear, flowing from the origin that has been forgotten towards an end that will never be.
While most of the stories recently out of South Africa have detailed new efforts
That's
by
a
the
loop.
government to silence its
You can
internal
try.
critics, there are many South African
Yeah. So the rest of that interview you can find online. It's really interesting how Americans interviewed Miriam during that time period and asked just interesting questions, questions that had nothing to do with who she was or what she wrote about. But two things really strike me about her story. The first is this idea of home, of making a home. I'm going to read a quote from her too, actually, before I talk. I always wanted to leave home. I never knew they were going to stop me from coming back. Maybe if I knew, I never would have left. It is kind of painful to be away from everything that you've ever known. Nobody will know the pain of exile until you are in exile. No matter where you go, there are times when people show you kindness and love, and there are times when they make you know that you are with them but not of them, and that's when it hurts. So when I hear about stories of apartheid, we can also relate it to the Jim Crow South, that when Miriam came here, she talks a lot about how she's not an activist and her music is not political, she's just speaking her truth, the truth of her life, the truth of her experience. And the US, she was wildly popular when she was performing as Mama Africa, an African woman, a representation of what people wanted a free and liberated Black woman to be, as long as she could be free and liberated in a way that Western ideals protected. And when she started aligning herself with Black causes in the US, all of that went away. Her shows were canceled. And so I think about the current political moment and what we see happening in Palestine with apartheid, what we see happening across the global South, still in Africa. And so I wanted to take a minute for all of us to maybe close our eyes, take some breaths, and think through home. So let's close our eyes and take a deep breath in. Exhale. Another deep breath. And maybe imagine yourself at home, whatever that means to you. Imagine yourself in a place where you feel safe. Think about what's in the room with you. Think about what's on the walls. What you can hear. If there's anything you smell, maybe it's flowers, maybe it's somebody cooking. And let's sit with how that feels in your body. Feeling safe. Take another deep breath. Exhale. Okay, you can come back to the room. That's a quick somatic exercise. But I want us to really think about home. And then as we move throughout the day, we'll have markers in the back. You'll be able to write what you think home is if you want to share with the group. And also think about the complexity of living in this home right now, like this country, these borders. How does that sit? How does that make you feel? Does the same safety go back and forth? And what do you do to protect yourself? And then maybe what do you do to protect the people around you? Yeah. Now I'm gonna ask, I think the kids are in the back already, but we have Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. So Chelsea is doing Sunday school for our kids. They're gonna make their own drums, their own percussive instruments. So y'all are all set to start doing that. And I'm gonna welcome folks to get into smaller groups, and you can turn your chairs around. You can talk with your neighbor about this idea of home, how you're feeling, what you're doing, and you can also grab a percussion instrument of your choosing to kind of play around with, and then we'll come back and talk more about home, and then talk about Miriam's music and how it changed over her different iterations of what home was. Sound good? Okay, come to me if you have any questions. Small groups. Find an instrument, small groups. Thanks.
There's something 2 minute warning. We're just going to talk for 2 more minutes in the speakers.
Hello. Oh. All right, can we come back to main group? We're gonna turn our chairs back. You can still face each other if you want, but we're actually gonna use this guy. Thanks, y'all. Beautiful music. Okay. All right. I would like to give you all a round of applause for your small group time. We already heard some gorgeous drumming. We are now going to share what we talked about, what we thought about. You're welcome to come up and write, or I can write for you. Does anybody have any reflections on home from the small group discussion? We'll pass the mic to. Yeah, go ahead. It's the first one's always the hardest. Here you go.
Peace and light, everybody. This is my first time here, and our first time here, and we're here with the American Dance Festival. Let me stand up, because I'm a preacher's daughter. I'm going to do better. So first of all, let me just say, I walked into unknown, right? I walked into not having any expectation about what I was walking into. So there was a group of humans, no other title, but a human, right? And there was a question that we were asked, and I was excited and intrigued to get ready for what I was about to hear, because I don't know these humans. And in just that time, I realized how in defining home, sometimes home is in that moment where we are. So we created a circle, a cipher, that allowed us to dive into the home of others in a few seconds. Imagine if we can do that every day throughout the world. So just to piggyback on what people were saying home was, I said that I was from New Orleans, and 2005, Katrina hit. My son was 8 days old before evacuating and ended up in Dallas, Texas, unknown. Never thought about living in Dallas ever. I don't do the Cowboys. What is this blue star thing? I don't even know what it is. So understanding that sometimes home is birthright, and also home becomes lived experience based on your career, based on social, hurricanes, what do you call those, disasters, right? So then you have to shift in a new place where you have to redefine what is home for you based on your environment. And surrenderance is something when you don't have a choice. So some people said, the young lady mentioned how in her room she puts posters up. She decorates her space in her room. And when you go in your room, tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I'm a teacher and I say wrong stuff. When she goes into her room, she feels safe, right? And that's home for her. So where we are right now is the home, but we can't forget about the home from which we were birthed, because we stand on a certain soil that as we're walking, those steps become new homes and new experiences and new people and new things. So she also said, I don't know why I remember everything, she said she couldn't define it. She couldn't define it, right? Yes? And so in not being able to define it is also an exciting thing to explore. So your old home is not your new home, but you bring your ancestry and your roots and your tradition with you into your new home, and you create a new cipher for yourself where there is peace, where there is sitting with self, where there is love, where there is learning other people and other cultures. So Ashe, I think I did, is that everything? Oh, and she said, hold on, one more thing. And they talked about when you move to a new place, how climates change. If you come from a hot place and you move to a cold place, that changes your whole idea of what home is, right? So that's it. Did I do good?
Beautiful. Leave it to a teacher to become the group representative. I heard home is change, so I'm going to write change on our little board. I also wrote lived experience. Someone wrote here, which I love. Who's next? Absolutely.
My name is Isla, all the way from off the rock. If anybody knows where's the rock, where's the rock? The rock of the world, Jamaica. Yeah. And I just want to endorse what she said, because here I was telling my group that home for me is the world. The world. So, meaning wherever, you know, I always tell my wife here, this is my beautiful wife, Monica, I always say to her, look at me, babes. I had a lot of keys. Can you see them? I adjust myself anywhere I go to the environment that I've been in. I make it my home. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, home for me is the world. The world. I love this place. Wherever I be, I love this place. Whosoever created, whosoever make it. And my, let me say, I don't know, my mama, I said, look, oh. She said, home for her is like between the woods, the trees. And everywhere we go, we find woods and trees, right? Anywhere around we go. Mountains, valleys, you know what I mean? So yeah, I love that too. That helps me tell myself that, yeah, home is the world for me. Thank you.
Did you have something to share? No, okay. Okay. You are welcome to hold and share within yourself, but we also love group sharing. Absolutely. Let's teamwork. Pass this mic back.
I noticed a couple other people had said, and it came up several times in different ways in our group, the connection between home and a feeling of safety. And a lot of people described places in their home, or even like things that they would surround themselves with, or even just do with their bodies, that felt like safety, and that was like the feeling that home represented. And then also the really complicated thing that happens inside you when your home doesn't feel safe. That home and safety are inextricably connected, and not always the same thing, but that really creates a deep dissonance when they're not the same.
So what I was gonna say before I chickened out was, home is peace, and peace can be at any given place if you can just find it in your mind to get there. But all the answers kind of line with what home is, which would be peace.
Home is peace. I also heard home is trees, maybe like the land, the woods, the woods, the woods, the forest. Forest is our final answer? I'm not going to draw a tree. I'm not good at drawing. Anybody else want to share? Water? The water. Beautiful. I don't know if the question was posed to our kids. If any of our little ones want to share what home means to them, that's also welcome. Give it another minute. Yeah.
For me, I feel like I tried a lot to make a perfect kind of home, to make a home that fits a certain definition, or a home that is everything I could have wanted. And I always tried to make that in a place. We moved around not a lot, but a considerable amount of times. And each time I tried a new thing. Maybe this will be perfect. Maybe this I won't want to change. I tried it with styles. I wanted to have a certain aesthetic or a certain way to look, something that could define me. But within that searching, I found that within definition, it also places a limit on who you can be and who you are. And I feel like within home, I've found that it's not always definable because you can't always limit your home. And your home is very individual to who you are. And if defining your home is how you create it in a place that you want, then it's something that's safe for you. But for me, I think my home is who I am, in a way that I can't always express in a room or a house or a certain type of thing.
Okay. That's beautiful. You carry home with you. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
I really appreciate that sharing and all the sharing from our group and the other groups. And the piece that I feel when I feel into it in my body is this knowing, which can be described as peace, but also it's like a piece of interconnection. It's like this knowing physically what it feels like to feel connected to the trees and to people and to my daughter and life and the sun and the moon. It's just like, it's kind of like a flowing like water, but it doesn't feel like it can be described, but it's like a returning almost. And people can take me there, like I can feel it in a gathered group. People can also take me away from it very easily. Places can take me there, places can take me out, but I just really appreciate the reminder of it's always there. It's just how I find it and the places and the people that I am in relationship with that help remind me to go there.
Could we put relationship on our board? That feels good. Can you all see the pink? Okay, we'll stop using the pink. And we'll outline these in the green. Improv. Does anybody else want to share? Yeah. Do you want to come up here? Okay, come on. You want to let folks know your name? There you go.
Where you sleep and where you live.
What does home feel like? What does home feel like?
It feels like I'm in my bedroom.
Feels like in your bedroom. Okay, you want to bring this back to Laura? Oh, I don't know.
Good job. Thank you. Home is rest. We're going to put rest up here. Okay. Anybody else? Last call for sharing out? Undefinable. We'll write undefinable. Yes. Can we pass this back? Thank you.
Hi, y'all. I don't know where this is gonna go. So, thank you for your patience. One of the things that I was sharing with my group was that my first home was my mother. I'm 25 years old, and I lost her in October. And one of as a Black daughter, as a person who grew up in the Black Baptist tradition, it feels really, really challenging for me to say that for most of my life, my mom wasn't a safe person for me. And that's my truth. And that's my truth. And the muscles and cells and tissues in my body break open when I am able to hold the resonance of that. And so I think home in this dawn of my life is reparenting. And reparenting in community that holds me in all of my softness, that holds me in all of my ugliness, and doesn't love me anyway, loves me because. And as a person who grew up around substance use and domestic violence, that's something that I never thought that I would experience unconditional love for being. And in the dawn of my life, I'm so grateful that I'm still here to be, because there have been so many moments where that could have easily not been the case. Home is reparenting. Home is remembering that at the dawn and sunset of my life, ultimately, I am the only one that I'm going to have, so what can I do to pour into myself to make sure that my body is the safest place that I can ever be?
Reparenting. My body. Yeah.
Hello. I've been really touched by all the wonderful different ways that people have been defining home for them and just the different pieces of it. And the one thing I wanted to add is that I think home is not only a physical place or set of physical places, but of course it's community and relationships with people. And so I think that can be one of the most powerful ways people define home is the different groups of people that they form connections with. And I just wanted to put that into the space as well. Thank you.
I thought, yeah, let's put community. Yeah, I forgot to put relationships, but that's okay. Community, relationships. Yeah, absolutely. Leslie, and then Miss Mary, and then yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Leslie. Thank you for having us. Word. Since ADF is in the house, I want to give a shout out to Tommy Noonan, Hasim Hindi, and Frank with the Culture Mill. And the prompt was, are you visiting or are you a visitor? Are you home or are you a visitor? And they connected 3 continents, and it was a live performance. And folks shared their story through movement and their truth. And I love that it's not radical, it's our truth, and that we're sharing our lived experience. And I think this is how we're going to move through. That's what I got. Thanks.
Miss Mary, you want to talk? Okay.
Home is love, but when me and my sister was born with our disability, my grandmother was there for us. My mother and father did not want us, so that wasn't home for us. But my grandmother didn't want to abort us or put us up adoption. After she raised all 8 of her kids, she ended up raising me, my sister, and my cousin that didn't want it by his mother and father. So I was loved by her. If it wasn't for her, I don't know where I would be.
We're glad you're here. We're glad we're neighbors, Mary. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Joanne. Home is the right to take up space. Growing up, I always have been invisible. Don't make waves, follow the rules, color within the lines. So home is right to take up space, right to exist in this world.
How do you feel about home is loud? Do you like that? Does that work? Okay. You're welcome. Okay. All right. That's beautiful. Thank you all so much for sharing. Does everybody have an instrument? If you want an instrument and you don't have one, you can come up. There are a couple drums. There's a drum left. If you want to come play the bass drum up here, there's a mallet and some. There can probably be 2 people on the bass drum. We can grab the. Yeah. Amazing. You can sit here, or we can bring it down. We do, yeah, we're different, for sure. Okay, you want to start us off with that kick drum? Yeah. You want to hold a rhythm down for us? So what we're going to do is attune with our rhythm, and we're going to do call and response. So I'm going to say, home is something, and then you're going to say, home is something. Whatever the word is, we'll insert it. So let's try. Home is blah. Nice, you followed my silly word. Good job. So we're going to start off with a rhythm, and we're all going to chant in tune with the rhythm. Does that make sense? Okay, you want to start us off? You're going to do great. What's in your heart? Yeah. Nice. Okay. We're going to start slow. You ready? Okay. Home is change. Home is here. Home is peace. Home is the forest. Yes. Home is loud. Home is reparenting. I'm going to add mine. Home is soft. There we go. Home is belonging. Yeah. Home is my body. Home is community. Home is undefinable. Yes, home is lived experience. Home is the water. Last one, home is the world. Yes. Woo! Beautiful. Yeah. That feels good, right? How often do you get to play music with other people? Never? And this is a big group of people. We're going to do that a couple more times. But Matt, you back there? Matt, let's play Miss Miriam's song, the Click song. And so we're going to play along with this song. And then, so this is one of Miriam's first big songs in America. And you'll notice a really big difference between this and a protest song that she sings closer to the 80s. And I want us to hear the musical differences. Play along with your instrument if you want. The Click song. Let's listen to that.
From South Africa. Xhosa is my native language, and it's a wedding song where I come from. It's called by the English-speaking people a creek song because they cannot say "Ukonja."
That is beautiful. She's so talented. What did you notice about that? Shout it out. How did the music feel? Joyful. Good. Yes. Anything else? Embodied. Yeah. We all carried along with the beat. It was so easy. Okay. The next one is Soweto Blues. The blues one. We got it up? So this is a protest song not written by her. I'm not sure. It was written by Hugh. Yeah. And Miriam sang it. I'm also thinking about my grandmother, Miriam, today. So, moment for mothers in the space. Mothers, grandmothers, matriarchs. But this is, Miss Miriam had been through it, through the 60s and 70s, politicized against her will, and seen as something that she necessarily did not want to project herself as. So this is her live in concert. I want us to notice the difference between these songs. Let's play.
Here's a song that was written for us by Miriam Makeba. He calls it Soweto Blues.
Feel free to play along if you feel it too. crowd is different, right? Okay, incredible. Tell me what you felt about that song. How's it different? Grounded. It's groovy. That bass line is good. Yeah. Tell me. Body. Yeah, you feel it. Intense. I probably should have said this before the song, but that's about Soweto. Does anybody know about that? Okay. Apartheid. It's really the turning point for apartheid because it was kind of similar to what we're seeing today overseas in Palestine, in the Congo and Sudan. This same violence that's happening. It was, I think, maybe one of the first times it was widely publicized that it happened to children. And so school children were protesting, learning the white South African language, and there was a massacre, and all of this kind of made the world watch what was happening in South Africa, and it ignited the end of apartheid, essentially. And so, yeah, you hear this singer who was here singing in her language in a cheeky way. She said, "Y'all can't pronounce this," in the first video. And then she's, got her background singers, got this drum beat, and it's I think, a really beautiful protest to what's going on, and an example of how art can change things. So we're gonna do actually I'm gonna pause. Does anybody have any reflections? Yeah. You feel the weight of the racism she spoke about? Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna give you the mic to say it again.
Hi. I was saying that I could feel and see the weight of the racism that she spoke about. I grew up next to her. I'm from Zimbabwe, but we didn't really learn about apartheid that much until I came here, so I could really see it and feel the somberness of it, and then also the somberness of the racism and imperialism that's happening right now.
Yeah, that song is written in 1976, I believe, and a lot of the music that comes out of that era feels immediate. It feels prescient, like it's today. I think that's sad, and it's also hopeful because people have experienced problems like the ones that we're facing, and I hope that here in North Star, in our local communities, we're able to learn lessons from how they dealt with things. And protect the people around us from harm. Yeah. Any other reflections before we do our song one last time? Okay. All right, let's get our drums back. Do you want to start us off with a beat again? You're doing amazing. Yeah, it could be different. All right, let's play along. That feels like a march. Yes. Okay. You ready to talk? Talk back to me? 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Home is change. Again, home is change. Home is here. Home is here. Home is loud. Home is loud. Home is soft. Home is soft. Home is reparenting. Triplets. Home is reparenting. There you go. Home is community. Home is community. Home is undefinable. Rhythm, yes. Home is lived experience. Good job. Home is rest. Home is my body. Home is the water. Home is the world. Amazing job. Yes. Thank y'all so much. That feels good. So if you enjoy Sunday service, we appreciate you being here. We're going to continue with music for the next month is Nina Simone. So we'll be talking about the music of Nina Simone and her activism and her defiance of these systems, her time in Paris. And we hope you'll come back and do some singing with us. Does that sound fun? And we have an art exhibit in August as well called You Are Your First Home by Brittany Simone. And so she's doing an installation of multimedia work. So she paints and does beadwork over painting. It's really sculptural and incredible. We hope you'll come back. That's August 15th through 25th. You can check out northstardurham.com for upcoming events. We do free yoga every Monday night. We've got R&B yoga starting at the end of the month. And yeah, today is the last day of our fundraising campaign. So if you're interested in a shirt or a candle, we'll have more shirt sizes available. You can just let me know. And Matt, you put the fundraising thing back up? Listen, tell a friend to tell a friend, because we're almost there. Our goal is $50,000. Refreshing. Okay, yes. If you share it with people today, we would so appreciate it. Let me know if you need anything. Again, my name's Lauren. Thank you so much for being a part today. Make sure to grab some coffee and stuff on your way out. Thank you.